Well, hello everyone, and welcome to Hogarth's Global Astrology. Know your planets, know yourself, or know your nation, know yourself. The two are interchangeable. Okay, so today I've got a special video for you guys. It is a deep dive. It's been a little while since I've done a deep dive. This is going to go out to my membership first, so they're going to have a little look at it. And then when you guys are catching this, what's today's date? Today is Monday, the 6th of May, 2024, and it is 11:09 in the morning here in the UK. So I'm probably going to put this video out. It could be Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll have to see. Anyway, so who is this about? This video is about Pamela Colman Smith, who is otherwise known as the famous illustrator who illustrated the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck. Yeah. Oh God. Now that I've said that, I'm just thinking to myself, where is my? One second. Where is my tarot deck? Oh gosh, now I'm literally just looking at it. I've just announced a name and then I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Here we go. On Momento, forgive me. I just realized I should have had it to hand, shouldn't I? Oh gosh. Yeah. There, at last. So this is the tarot deck, the iconic tarot deck that everyone, of course, knows. You know, everyone has seen this. It's the absolute classic. So I thought, as you know, I've been looking at, I've looked at Edgar Cayce, I've looked at Madame Blavatsky, and I just thought it was time to take a look at this rather iconic character. And we'll be looking at, oh gosh, the card just fell out. Look at that. Ace of Wands, fertile new beginnings. Yeah, so literally this is in a way kind of announcing the energy of this little project here. So I printed out her chart, as I do for many clients, and as you know, I hand illustrate this stuff here, Drishti, which means planetary sight. It's similar to aspects like in Western tropical astrology, but it's a fixed way of looking depending on where the planets, irrespective of how far away they are from each other or not. Drishti is a fixed way that they look. Oh, do I talk about Drishti? Oh, God. Literally, I'm kind of like, I've just realized I need to have certain things to hand. Never mind. Let's actually just start with the reading. So I'm going to share my screen with you, and then we're going to look into her chart. We'll read a little bit of the Wikipedia on her entry, and then I just literally will just go into the chart analysis. So Pamela Colman Smith was born on the 16th of February 1878, and there's no birth time known, but looking at certain things in her life and stuff like that, and I was thinking in terms of how her life panned out. I figured it was probably around about 11 p.m. that she was born. But anyway, before I just witter on about that, let me actually let's just share the screen. Let's do share screen. And then let's see here. Let's get this bit up here and share entire screen. Share that. And we'll get this stuff up. Come on. There we go. And then let's get up her chart, which is here. There we are. Here's her chart. Let me just quickly go and get something. I just realized something I forgot. Here. Oh, crikey. And then if I just move this a little bit, I'll be able to see myself. There we go. So here is her chart. Let's get this extended a bit more to the side. There we go. There we are. That's better. All right, so here we are. So like I said before, Pamela Colman Smith, born on the 16th of February, 1878. Now, her birth time is not actually known. And when you don't know the birth time, of course, you rely more on the moon. Yeah, you can actually look at the moon, and you can basically use that as an alternative ascendant. It's referred to as something called Chandra Lagna. Now, knowing certain events from her life, I figured that when she was born, the moon was most likely to be in Aslesha, where it says ASL here. So if you see MO stands for moon, it's in the sign of Cancer, own house, and it's in Aslesha. So she was definitely, irrespective, in that 24-hour window of when she was born, the moon was in the sign of Cancer. So the moon was in its own sign. And in many ways, that makes a lot of sense for someone who is an illustrator of such mystical kind of subjects and symbolism and stuff like that, because the moon deals a lot with symbolism, but also deals a lot with the subconscious. The moon is a very kind of creative and sensitive aspect in the chart. In fact, it's always the most sensitive aspect in the chart. But the reason why I think she was born in Aslesha Nakshatra, but particularly as well, I strongly suspect that the moon was in the 28th degree or beyond when Pamela was born. Now, why do I say that? First of all, it's highly likely that the moon was in Aslesha Nakshatra. Why? Aslesha Nakshatra is a nakshatra that belongs to Mercury. And Mercury is a planet of communications, media, and skills, etc. All of these things. Mercury is also a business planet, along with planet Venus and Saturn. Yeah, they're the business planets essentially. And Aslesha has a very mercantile quality to it as well. This is very often why many people who are either Cancer rising or have Cancer strong in their charts, which Pamela did, are often entrepreneurial and this kind of thing, because the moon actually has quite a lot to do with business as well, because it deals with the public. Yeah, but Aslesha Nakshatra in particular is very mercurial. So the other nakshatras ruled by Mercury are Jyeshtha, which is over at the back end, the last nakshatra of Scorpio. And the other one is in Revati, which is the last section of Pisces. So what is that Mercury's nakshatra are at the end of all of the water signs. That's how you can tell the Mercury nakshatras. They're always the last ones. So it also means as well, those nakshatras do have a kind of like a business mercurial side to them. Now, of course, she was an artist, she was an illustrator, she was also a writer and a publisher as well. These are all mercurial things. Now, here also as well, what is Aslesha? Aslesha is incredibly mystical. Aslesha Nakshatra deals with the occult. It deals with hidden knowledge. Aslesha Nakshatra, the deities associated with Aslesha Nakshatra are the Nagas. Yeah, the Nagas, which are said to be a race of dragon people that live in the earth underground in a world illuminated by beautiful gemstones. And this is quite common. This is quite a common theme with people that are interested in the occult arts, spirituality, mysticism, and stuff like that. You see it quite a lot. I myself, my ascendant is in Aslesha Nakshatra, but you see this a lot with spiritual people. I think, let me think, did Madame Blavatsky have something similar? And let's just take a quick look at Madame Blavatsky and Edgar Cayce. Yeah, so let's just do, I wasn't planning to do this. Let's just see if they have Aslesha Nakshatra. So let's just do file open. And let's take a little look. Because Astrology is famous for this. It is famous for this particular aspect. Let's see if my computer is going to be speedy today. No, it is not. I probably should have restarted it before doing this. Getting the little there we go. Not quite the hamster wheel, but certainly not super swift. Anyway, so let's go here. New global astrology. Let's open and let's take a look at Madame Blavatsky. Oh crumbs, what did I have her under? Oh god, I've got so many charts here now. A minute. Did I put, I'm trying to think. Famous, maybe I put her under famous. Edgar, there's Edgar Cayce. So let's take a look at him as he's come up sooner. Take a look at his chart. There we are. So look, you see when he was born, he had Uranus in Aslacea in the Gandanta point. So what's the Gandanta point? Gandanta points, that this is what I've put in the book, by the way, you know, hard copy, the Candid Guide to Vedic Astrology and stuff like that. There's illustrations in there that actually talk about the Gandanta point. And the Gandanta point is the last 2 degrees of a water sign going into the first 2 degrees of a fire sign. So that happens from 28 degrees of the sign of Cancer into the first 2 degrees of Leo. Yeah, so you can see, look, where Edgar Cayce had it here, and it overlaps here. Then it goes from 28 degrees of sidereal Scorpio into the first 2 degrees of sidereal Sagittarius. And then it goes from 28 degrees of sidereal Pisces into the first 2 degrees of sidereal Aries. Yeah. So the Gandanta point is seen as a drowning point. It's often, it means karmic knot. It's said to be where the sky is effectively tied together. So if I get this over here, and if I show you one of the illustrations that's in the book where I show the nakshatras. So, or actually maybe it might be better to, anyway, but here I've illustrated in the Gandanta points. Yeah, these are these parts where these karmic knots, and this is what's in the illustration, where it's said to be tied together. So any planet or planets in those points, or the ascendant in those points, are said to be drowning. And so it means there's a lot of more karmic energy there. It can mean sometimes that planet can be a bit discombobulated, or it could even be even more emphasized. Yeah. As you can see here with Edgar Cayce, it's Uranus here, and Uranus is retrograde. And Uranus deals with what? Sudden shocks and surprises. That's the famous thing. But Uranus also deals with genius as well. Deals with geniuses. Genius, brilliant flashes of insight, all of those kind of things. And he's got in the 12th house, which I refer to as the land of far, far away, which of course is mysticism, the realm of dreams. It's very Neptunian, Jupiterian, and of course he was also known as what? The sleeping prophet. And it's in the Gandanta point, which is showing all of that incredible intensity and these flashes of insights. I don't need to explain Edgar Cayce. You all know him very, very well. You know, very, very famous and very you know, reliable and very consistent with his visionary predictions, etc. So that's Edgar Cayce there, and he was a Leo rising, and he had Ketu in the 1st house, which is, you know, the mysticism. But look, this isn't about Edgar Cayce. Let's do file open, and let's see. Let's open another file, and then let's take a look at Madame Blavatsky. Now, where's Madame Blavatsky? Trying to think. I think I had was it Fame I had her under? Here we are. Yes, famous. Madame Blavatsky, open. And let's see if we, aha, and there we see again, if we look here with Madame Blavatsky, we see, look, she's got the sun in Aslacea at 26 degrees 59 minutes. So not quite Gandanta, but very, very close. So you see how Astrology is a factor when it comes to mysticism. And that's why I was thinking, actually, when she was born, when the time is not known, it often means a person's born either very late at night or very early in the morning, because no one's awake. Yeah, no one's awake to remember. So if we look here, you see Madame Blavatsky has also got her sun in Aslesha. Lots of planets here in Leo. This is most likely why Madame Blavatsky and Edgar Cayce are a bit more famous. Obviously, Rider-Waite Smith deck the deck itself is famous, but Pamela is not as famous because, you know, Leo does deal with leadership and a lot of fame, etc., and stuff like that. So if we go back to Pamela's chart, and look at that. Look, she's got K2 and Uranus in Leo. But for her, technically, this could be falling into the 12th house, which would make sense. Even though we can't look, we don't know the birth time. So of course, I've guessed her birth time based on, in terms of how, just with my own experience with clients' charts and how the energy plays out. When I looked at her life, I'm like, well, actually, it actually makes a lot of sense that the moon was probably in Aslesha. And when I looked to see when the moon was in Aslesha in the Gandanta point, particularly in terms of like how her life ended, you know, that made sense, which would give her a Virgo ascendant. And then that means the K2 in Leo, which Edgar Cayce also had, and her Uranus would fall into her 12th house, which again is a very mystical house, which shows that she had a deep, you know, access to the divine, invisible knowledge. Makes sense, really, doesn't it? It makes sense. Of course, I've had to, you know, use my kind of professional experience and intuition in terms of deciding that. But the moon was definitely in the sign of Cancer. I just think it was more likely that it was in Aslesha Nakshatra. The moon moves very quickly. She moves 13 degrees, 20 minutes each day, and she only spends 2.5 days per sign. So anyway, so assuming that this is correct, that would put this K2, which is snip, snip, as you know, this otherworldly quality into her 12th house, which is otherworldly as it is already, there with Uranus itself, which is otherworldly. Oh, and I've just noticed here as well, her Uranus is at 5 degrees 14 minutes, which is exactly conjunct the star Regulus. Do you remember how I was talking about how Regulus is such an important star and how so many of my clients have literally planets or their ascendant conjunct the star Regulus? So if we look here, I'll just draw it in. Here we can see, just literally just drawing this in right now. Goes from 4 to 6 degrees. Here we are, Regulus. There, just drawn it in. So there you can see it. Yeah. And Regulus means to what? It means to fight for one's throne in life. Fight for one's throne in life. The symbol of Regulus is it's the Palatine, the throne. But also as well, Regulus, the deities of Regulus. This is in Marga Nakshatra. Forgive me, I should have said Marga Nakshatra. So if we look here, if we go Uranus, which is retrograde. Any planet that's retrograde has got a bit more karma on it. You have to kind of squeeze the orange harder to get the juice out. So here you see Uranus retrograde at 5 degrees 14 minutes of sidereal Leo in Marga Nakshatra. But within Marga Nakshatra is the star Regulus, which of course is one of the 4 royal Persian stars, which is what I've put in the illustration here. So if we look here, Regulus is over here. There's Regulus. Yeah. And they basically, like, these stars are at the four cardinal corners, and they were used for navigation in ancient times. And it is also known as the star of summer, and it is associated with Archangel Raphael. So anytime a person, I count an orb of 3 degrees or less, well, you can do 5, but 3 degrees orb or less, it means a very, very strong connection. So we can see here with Pamela, she has an exact hit with Uranus on the star Regulus, which goes from 4 to 6 degrees of sidereal Leo, which means this was a very, very, now look, the royal stars are not easy. Yeah, the royal stars are not easy. I've also noticed as well that she has, like many people do as well, she's also got a planet conjunct the star Fomalhaut. Yeah, I'm literally just joining this in now. I've got this combination, and quite a few of my clients have got this combination. So what also counts as well for conjunction with a star is a planet close to it within orb, 3 degrees or less. 5 degrees, like I said, you can take, but 3 degrees or less is strong. Or the opposition. So if we look here, I've just illustrated it in here, we can see, aha, she's also got planets conjunct Fomalhaut. Now, this is a very mystical combination. What I find is people who have these kinds of conjunctions to these stars tend to be very interested in spirituality. So, for example, Fomalhaut is a very spiritual star. It sits within Aquarius, sidereal Aquarius, and it sits around about 9 degrees. It's like 8 degrees and loose change. 8 degrees 52 minutes. Actually, that's where I remember, if I remember correctly. Again, let's just check the illustration. Fomalhaut, which is the star of winter. Yeah, this is Fomalhaut, the star of winter. This is associated with Archangel Gabriel. And yes, it's 8 degrees 52 minutes. And just to tell you, the other star, the star of spring, is Aldebaran, and that's associated with Archangel Michael. And then you've got the star of fall or autumn, which is Antares, and that's Archangel Uriel. All in the book and in the illustrations, but she's got a very mystical combination. What it also means is the deities of Magha Nakshatra are referred to as the Pitris. So what it means is the Pitris are anyone that is a blood relative or by marriage that is deceased. Yeah. And what it means is, and many of my clients have this combination. And in fact, that's what my next book is going to be about. My next book is going to be about the silent generation and the boomer generation. So the silent generation are sort of like kind of around about Joe Biden's age now, yeah, if they're still alive. And then, of course, you've got the boomer generation, which is starting from sort of like, what is it, 1940s, 50s, etc. So my next book is going to be about those people, particularly as well, the Pluto in Leo generation. So if we look here, we can see when Madame Blavatsky was born, pardon me, when Pamela Colman Smith was born, you can see Pluto was way up here in Taurus, 1 degree and 25 minutes of Taurus. So she was part of the Pluto in Taurus generation, which was a big generation. Up here, Pluto is moving very slowly because he's the furthest away from the sun, because remember, he has an elliptical orbit. Pluto's orbit is elliptical. So if we imagine this number 1 here is the sun, then Pluto, when he's down here, he's moving at his fastest pace. So he moves at his quickest when he's in the signs of Libra and Scorpio. When he's in Scorpio, he's moving at his fastest, which is he spends 12 years in a sign. And you're thinking 12 years, that's hardly quick. Fast for him. When he's up here, it's like 30 years or more in a sign that Pluto can stay in. So she was part, particularly in that Victorian era, was a period of about 30 odd years where Pluto was in the sign of Taurus, which is also a sign of what materialism, pragmatism, deals with wealth, money, food, finance, etc., and stuff like that. But if we think of what the Victorian era was like in many ways, or a big defining quality of it was this kind of material success. This was really like the Industrial Revolution and really got full wings by this point, where, you know, tracks were being laid down, you know, with the cartography of the world. There were lots of tangible, practical things happening. You know, the British Empire, we could say, was, you know, pretty much, at its height. So, you know, Pamela was a part of that kind of energy, part of that kind of energy. So in terms of like with the boomers and stuff, that is like, in particular, I'll be looking at those people that have either Pluto in the Gandanta point, which quite a lot of the those born later in the silent generation have. So Xi Jinping and Vladimir Putin, for example, have their Pluto in the Gandanta point. But also as well, I'll be looking at that boomer generation in particular that have the Pluto in Leo and just a bit beyond. So it's going to be a bit more of a narrow focus. But the reason why I'm doing it is because so many of my clients have that Pluto in Leo, and many conjunct the star Regulus as well. So it's just this big theme. So going forward in future books, I'm going to be literally kind of like looking at generations and where the Pluto is and where the outer planet is and how that helps shape and define that generation. But taking this back to Pamela, it means that she's been nominated by her ancestors to either continue or complete something they weren't able to finish in their lifetime. And because it's Uranus conjunct here, what this tells me is that she would have esoteric or unusual characters in her family, because Uranus is an unusual planet, it deals with quirky characters. So there's a bit of genius in her family as well. I think her mother's brother was a famous painter, and we can look at the wiki and all of that kind of stuff. In fact, let's do that now. Let's do. I'll stop the share on that one, and let's minimize that down, and then let's do present again, and I'll just do share screen, and I'll just share. Let's just share that. So here you are. So you should be able to see. Here we are. Here's a biography. Here she is. Lovely picture there. So Pamela Colman Smith, born 16th of February 1978, and then she died on the 18th of September 1951. So nicknamed Pixie, was a British artist, illustrator, writer, publisher, and occultist. Occultist, yeah. And that's why I'm like, the moon when she was born must have been in Aslesha. Yeah, Pushya as well will do it, but Aslesha in particular deals a lot with people that are into and have skills and gifts with the occult. So again, we saw that with Edgar Cayce with his Uranus there. We saw that with Madame Blavatsky with the sun there. I think it stands to reason that Pamela would have had her moon in Aslesha, highly likely, I would say. She was best known for illustrating the Rider-Waite Tarot deck, also called the Rider-Waite Smith or Waite Smith deck, because in earlier publications of it, they sort of omitted her name, which is really quite criminal considering that it's her illustrations. For Arthur Edward Waite, this tarot deck became the standard among tarot card readers and remains the most widely used today. Smith also illustrated over 20 books, wrote 2 collections of Jamaican folklore, edited 2 magazines, and ran the Green Sheaf Press, a small press focused on women's writers. Now think about this. This for me in many ways would make sense, because if the moon was indeed in Astrology when she was born, that is a Mercury ruled nakshatra, which is all about what? Communication, writing, etc. But would also give her a Virgo ascendant. And people that have prominent placements in Gemini or Virgo are often involved in media, media writing, etc., and stuff like that. Like for example, I've got Virgo sun sign. My Sun and Pluto are conjunct. They're only 1 degree of Cassini, but they're in the sign of Virgo. So Virgo deals with what? Health and healing, overcoming obstacles. But Virgo is also a sign of skills. It deals a lot with artisans. She literally was an artist and all that kind of stuff, because Mercury is a very skillful planet. So this is why he also deals with business, but artisans, craft makers, all of this kind of stuff, because that's what he's known for. So it makes absolute sense, isn't it, that she as an illustrator, I'm an illustrator as well. I'm not saying I'm Pamela Colman Smith, but I've literally illustrated books and all of that stuff. So I'm an artist. You guys know this, but a lot of that is coming from that Mercury energy. Yeah. So if we look here, biography, she was born on 28 Belgrave Road in Pimlico. Sorry, I can't speak today. Part of central London. She was the only child. So that's like it's down there where Tate Britain is, very close to that. She was the only child of a merchant from Brooklyn, New York. Before it was part of New York City, Charles Edward Smith, son of Brooklyn Mayor Cyrus Porter Smith, and his wife Connie Colman, sister of the painter Samuel Colman. So you can see here on her mother's side, she's getting already some artistic inheritance, as it were. The family was based in Manchester for the first decade of Smith's life, but they moved to Jamaica when Charles Smith took a job in 1889 with the West India Improvement Company, a financial syndicate involved in extending the Jamaican railroad system. So you see here, this is also, you see, extending the Jamaican railway system. So with this Pluto in sidereal Taurus, this 30-year kind of time, this is when a lot of this building and infrastructure, tangible things were happening. This is when a lot of stuff was being extracted out of the ground, because Taurus also deals with the earth, Gaia energy, all of the coal, to fuel the power plants and the steam engines and all of that stuff, which is still very much a legacy that we're living with today. Again, everything is evolving, but you see, this puts it into context of, her life as basically a late Victorian person. By 1893, Smith had moved to Brooklyn, where at the age of 15, she enrolled in the Pratt Institute, which had been founded 6 years earlier. There she studied under author Wesley Dow, painter, printmaker, photographer, and influential arts educator. Her mature, and it talks about that. So if we look here, her mature drawing style shows clear traces of the visionary qualities of fin de Sicile symbolism. So if you look here, beautiful image there, and romanticism. Let's see, there we are, of course. Oh, I love this one. This is by Friedrich something, German painter, if I remember correctly. And then preceding arts and crafts movements of the precede. So the arts and crafts movement were here was an international trend in decorative and fine arts that developed artists and most fully in the British Isles and subsequently spread across the British Empire to the rest of Europe and America. So we can see here she was also, her visual style was also part of, influenced by the wider movement kind of going on at that time. And then if we look here, she became, and then what is it called? While Smith was in art school, her mother died in Jamaica in 1896. Yes, 1896. Smith herself was on and off during the, was ill on and off during these years. In the end, left the Pratt Institute in 1897 without a degree. Yeah, so there is an element there as well, like there may have been some issues too as well, particularly with her mental health and stuff like that, because Aslesha, that can be the shadow of Aslesha. But also as well, the moon is the mother. Yeah, the moon is the mother. And this is why I also think as well, she probably had the moon in the Gandanta point, because that would also affect the health of the mother as well. And the mother obviously, you know, died, you know, quite young. She would have been 18 when the mother died. She became an illustrator. Some of her first projects included the illustrated verses of William Butler Yeats. Yeah, that's him there, who was an Irish poet, dramatist, and writer, and one of the foremost figures of the 20th century literature. Yeah, of course, Yeats. He was a driving force behind the Irish literary revival. Along with Lady Gregory, founded the Abbey Theatre, serving as its chief during its early years. So look at that. So she was, you know, so was already mixing in very quite influential circles. A book on actress Dame Ellen Terry. So there she is there. Terry was a leading English actress of the late 19th and 20th centuries. And then Bram Stoker. Yeah, now here we are. Bram Stoker was an Irish author who was best known for writing the 1897 Gothic horror novel Dracula. So look at that. Yeah. And then he was the better known Dracula. During his lifetime, he was better known as the personal assistant of actor Sir Henry Irving and business manager of the West End's Lyceum Theatre. So you can see she was moving in quite influential circles. And there were Bram Stoker and two of her own books, Widdicombe Fair and Fair Vanity, in reference to Vanity Fair. And then in 1899, her father died, leaving Smith orphaned at the age of 21. She returned to England that year, continuing to work as an illustrator and branching out into theatrical design for miniature theatre. In London, she was taken under the wing of the Lyceum Theatre Group. So the Lyceum Theatre is still going, by Ted Terry, who is said to have given her the nickname Pixie. Henry Irving, of course, who Bram was connected with, and Bram Stoker, and traveled with them around the country working on costumes and stage design. So we can see here quite a colorful life, quite colorful characters that she was involved with. So in 1901, she established a studio, held an open house of authors and artists and those involved with the arts. And then she also wrote and illustrated books on Jamaican folklore, the Anansi stories. I used to read those as a kid because obviously there was her strong connections with Jamaica. Let's see, a Jamaican version of tales, and then involved in the traditional folk figure Anansi. Many of you may know that. And then let's just see here. So she was part of the struggle for women's suffrage, the right to vote and stuff like that. And let's see here. In 1903, she launched her own magazine under the Green Sheaf title, which is an example here, as we can see. Let's see here. Green Sheaf survived for a little over a year after a total of 13 issues. So it wasn't a financial success. And then what's another important thing here? Because I don't want to just to be all part of just reading off a wiki. So she joined, where is it? So she joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in 1901. And that's where she actually met Waite. Yeah. So yeah, Yeats introduced Smith. So Yeats introduced Smith to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in 1901. Yeah. And it's a secret society devoted to the study and practice of the occult, hermeticism, and metaphysics during the 19th and 20th century, known as a magical order. Yeah, the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. So again, that is very Aslesha, but not just that as well. If we go back to her chart, let's just see when she illustrated when does she actually start illustrating the deck? What is it? 1908. So in 1909, when she was 31, so this would have been after her first Saturn return, Waite was commissioned Waits commissioned Smith to produce a tarot deck with appeal to world art. So if I just do the stop share on that, and then let's go back here. And let's just present again. Let's do share screen. There we are. And just get her chart back up. So here, and this is why I'm thinking, aha, Aslesha. But not only that, there's this very mystical combination here. So the star of Fomalhaut really does deal as well with high spirituality. It's high creativity as well. There's a lot of artistic ability with associated with this star, but spiritual abilities in particular as well. So it gives someone a fine sensitivity. Not only that, if we look here, she's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 planetary factors happening in the sign of Aquarius. Yeah, and Aquarius, of course, is the sign of humanity. It deals with all of the sciences, including the esoteric sciences as well. Now, what's interesting here, now I can't be 100% sure of when her dasha started, but the dasha system, of course, is decided by the moon. And if we look here to the times when her mother passed away, her mother and father passed away in quite close succession. So if I've gone back here in time, so let's just see here. Let's see, she was born 1878, wasn't she? So here we are. So if we look here, she was born in the back end of a Mercury Saturn dasha, yeah, because this is here. This is the 7th of October, 1877, and she was born a few months later in February 1878. So that means she was at the very end, assuming that this is right, at the very end of her Mercury dasha. And then when she was about 2 years old, yeah, soon after turning 2 years old in a few months, she went into her Ketu dasha in 1880. So Ketu actually sits in Marga Nakshatra along with Uranus. So in many ways, from a young age, the energy of mysticism, the occult, the ancestors kicked in. But it also means as well, the star Regulus, it means to, Marga in general means to fight for one's throne. So it's not the easiest nakshatra. It's a Ketu ruled nakshatra, and she's actually got Ketu in its own nakshatra and very close to Uranus. So it talks about the intensity. Also as well, I suspect as well, there would have been intensity with the mother. And of course, she traveled around quite a lot as well because of the father was moving because of his work. If we go over here, looking at Aquarius again now, when her mother passed, which was in 1896, we kind of scroll down a little bit. So if we get to the 1890s, here we are. So she was in her Venus Rahu dasha, most likely. So we look to see where Venus is, who's around it, and also where Rahu is. Now, if we notice here, do you see she's got Rahu and Venus are together in the same house, and her Venus is retrograde. Now, remember this, Venus represents women of all kinds, from girlhood up to maturity. The moon represents the mother as well. But Venus is all within women. But also, if we look here, we see she's got Ceres here in amongst this. Now, Ceres is the Roman name for the goddess Demeter, the Greek goddess Demeter, who is the famous goddess of harvest and fecundity and stuff like that. What I've found is, and this is something that I've put in my book, what I've found is wherever Ceres is, it represents 3 characters, 3. Demeter, Persephone, and Hades. Hades was the abductor of Persephone, and there was a big hoo-ha. And Demeter was not would not be satisfied until her daughter was returned to her. In the meantime, everyone began to starve. Yeah, and this is the analogy of how the ancestors came up with the idea of winter. Yeah, she was grieving, looking for Persephone. Nothing would grow. Humanity started to starve, even the gods, because they couldn't make their libations and offerings. So what I found is that series deals very much with the maternal line, the mother, but also as well, it's got great grandmother energy, mother energy, daughter, granddaughter energy. And this is what I find, and this is what I detail in the book as well. And what I found is wherever series is, it not only shows our love and devotion and care for someone or something. So you can see here, she had a great love, care, and devotion to what? Humanity, yeah? And thespians in particular. So when she established her salon in London at the tender age, she was only like 23 or however old she was. I think she was 23. You know, she opened it up to artists, to thespians and stuff like that. And particularly as well, like round then, Aquarius, remember, as a sign, deals with the unconventional, deals with unconventional people and characters. Yeah, so you can see she was surrounded herself by unusual or unconventional characters, but they were kind of brilliant in some kind of way as well. Let's not forget, Aquarius has three rulers. The original ruler is Saturn. Yeah, Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius. The modern day ruler of Aquarius is Uranus, but one of the other ancient rulers is Rahu. Yeah, now Rahu also deals with unusual characters, sometimes outlandish characters, or people that are very talented or have unusual gifts. Yeah, Rahu and Ketu both deal with the gifted as well. It all depends on their combination. So we all have a talent somewhere, but certain combinations will exaggerate that. So when she went into her Venus Rahu Dasha, this also activated the sun in her chart and Saturn and Ceres. Ceres, I found, will also represent where we've lost something and we're trying to get it back, or we have something and we fear losing it. Because her father moved around so much, she was separated a lot from her mother and her father. Yeah. So we can see here, when I'm looking at the chart here, there would have been, as an adult, well, just in her relationship with her mother was probably quite tricky. And it wouldn't surprise me as well if the mother had health issues and possibly even maybe even mental health issues as well. Remember, there was no divorce back then. Yeah, there was no divorce back then, but the mother was left in Jamaica, you know, probably for a reason. Yeah, that's sort of like if a marriage didn't work, you know, back then, you couldn't just go and get a divorce. You know, you would be estranged, or, oh, my wife is in Jamaica. Literally, my wife is in Jamaica. Yeah. But, you know, he's in New York, you know, not with the wife, or, you know, wherever, in terms of Pamela's father. But when I look at her chart, I can see, aha, there was definitely difficulty with the mother. When she went into her Venus Rahu Dasha, this all got activated. And there was, and this Venus Rahu, it can show things could definitely, some extreme things could happen with a mother figure, which literally was her mother. The mother died. Yeah. And if we look here as well, it is opposite. If we look here, the sun is almost exactly opposite Uranus. Uranus deals with the sudden shocks and surprises. And then a couple of years later, her father died. Yeah. So if we look here, yeah, so when she was in her Venus, where was it? Yeah, what is it? I was looking at 1896, wasn't it? So if we go down to the 1890s, yeah, when she was in Venus Rahu, and then her father died in 1899. Now look at this. Now this is remarkable. He's sitting. I think I may have got it right here. I think I might have got her birth time right. Now, what is Jupiter? Jupiter in a woman's chart is known as the husband. Yeah, known as the husband. But Jupiter also represents secondary characteristics of the father, right? Secondary characteristics of the father can also represent a significant son. If we look here, you can see Pamela, when she was born, had Jupiter debilitated in the sign of Capricorn. Her Mercury is strong, but Jupiter is debilitated, and it's also debilitated in her D9, which is referring to the second half of life chart. Technically, it gives it a little bit more strength because that Vargotama tends to strengthen a little bit a planet, but it is debilitated. So it's almost like it's kind of reinforced in a way. Now, as far as I'm aware, her biography doesn't talk about her having children. Yeah. And Jupiter is one of the indicators of children. And what I found is, particularly if a woman has a debilitated Jupiter, she's quite unlikely to either her relationships, her marriages tend not to be that great. If Jupiter moves in the second half of life chart, then, it means the second husband is a lot better very often. But it can mean that, her relationships, romantic relationships with men tend not to work out that well. Or sometimes the woman never marries at all or never has children. And there's no shame in that or whatever at all. It's just energy. But I've seen it time and time again. Very often with a debilitated Jupiter, a woman will either be the marriages won't work out in the first part of her life, or she never gets married at all and doesn't have children. And obviously the children aren't mentioned as part of her journey. And I think I know why, actually, particularly when I look at all of these planets here in quirky Aquarius. Yeah. I suspect I doubt if men were her priority. Let's just put it that way. But Jupiter is also secondary characteristics of the father. So if we look here, now we know when she entered her Venus Dasha, which is up here with Ceres, which is also dealing with the mother. Remember, the Venus is retrograde. Also as well, it sits in the nakshatra Shatabishak. Now, Shatabishak or Shatabisha is known as the sky watcher. Yeah, so it's got a lot to do with astrology, astronomy, and things that are difficult to heal. Yeah, things that are difficult to heal. Things that are difficult to heal could be rare or unusual diseases. Now, look, I see this with my clients all the time. I know exactly what this Shatabishak means and how it manifests. My Ketu is in Shatabishak. So what it means is normally that person's health is okay. But very often in that person's life, in family members or close friends, these difficult to heal things will show up. They can manifest as disease, but they also show up as addictions. Yeah, addictions and sometimes mental health issues. Now, for those of you, keep going on about the book, but for those of you who've read my book and stuff, you will know that my mother suffered from schizophrenia. Yeah, she suffered from schizophrenia. A brother of mine suffered very much with addiction and stuff, all clean now and all that stuff, but it was a big issue for many of my clients. Addiction or mental health issues also show up in the family as well. And very often that person becomes the healer or enters the healing arts. So when we look here, this for me is just compounding, all the more. I'm like, yeah, she probably was a Virgo rising, interested in health and healing and stuff like that. But here, Venus, the significant women in one's life, is in Shatabishak, and the moon, I assume to be Gandanta in Aslesha, which is also speaking about the mother. So what this says to me is there's a strong likelihood here the mother may have suffered from addictions, but to me it's looking much more like the mother may have had mental health issues, or may have been, or she struggled with her mental health going up and down and her physical health, or because she did pass away in Jamaica. So there's that there. But going back to the Jupiter being the secondary characteristics of the father. So just to cover that ground again, when she went into Venus, the mother, what is it? Yeah, what is it? Am I looking at the right? What am I talking about here? The mother died in 1896. Here we are. Look, so look, 1890, and now look, this is this. Look, here we are. Here we are. So if we look here, so yeah, sorry, Venus Rahu. Sorry, I'm right. Sometimes it's tricky to see with the eye. Let me just scroll this down a little bit so it's not so high up. There we are. Yes, so she was in a Venus Rahu. Ceres got activated, but so did the sun. Now the sun represents the physical body of the father. Yeah, the physical body of the father as well. Jupiter is secondary characteristics of the father. So when she went into Venus Rahu, that affected, she then lost her mother, the Ceres with the Venus in Shatabishak, things that are difficult to heal. And then when she went into Venus Jupiter, remember Jupiter is secondary characteristics. So that happened on the 16th of August, 1897. And the father passed in 1899 when she was in Venus Jupiter. Jupiter is debilitated. She lost the father. You see, so you can see how the dasher thing. So I think this timing is right for her because it fits with her life. So it also shows as well she may have had a slightly difficult relationship with her father as well. It means he was maybe diligent and hardworking, but he probably wasn't able to kind of be there for her as most people would like their fathers to be, because he was just, he was just working very hard. And there were times where this institute, I can't remember, had to take her under the wing because the mother wasn't there and the father wasn't there. So, she may have been quite lonely at times, but that would have given her compassion for others as well, which is probably why she also opened her salon, her art studio, to other people. So we can see here as well, look, there's all of these characters. This is all like, Bram Stoker's Dracula. This is Yeats. She would have met all sorts of different thespians and all that stuff. She was probably a very colorful character herself, as you can imagine. Over here in her 8th house, which I refer to as the house of sex, death, and rock and roll, she's got Neptune and Mars together. Wow. Here with Chiron, and Chiron is the wounded healer. So this shows as well, again, deep interest in the occult, because of course the 8th house does deal with the occult. It also as well, Aries is a sign of pioneering new things. So of course she was also she pioneered that particular type of tarot deck, because before that they were very kind of simplified before. So she was a real innovator. Aries is about innovation, doing new things, breaking new ground, breaking the mold. Here with Neptune here, this shows her great psychic and esoteric gifts. She also did a lot of her paintings, some of them based on her dreams. Neptune is one of the planets of dreams. And here we have the Mars as well with Chiron. So it also shows as well, there would have been some challenges in her life, particularly in elements of her love life as well. But it also shows as well that her love life was probably quite unconventional and possibly taboo. Yeah, there would have been some taboos here, stuff like that. I can just see it in a chart. All these planets in Aquarius, and then over here, Neptune and Mars in the 8th house. In a 9th house, which also deals with philosophies, beliefs, gurus, teachers and stuff, she's got Pluto there as well. But Pluto's in the sign of Taurus, which also deals with the arts. So of course she's, became, she also became a Catholic. She also became a Catholic as well. When did she become a Catholic? She became, so let me just read off my own notes here. She joined the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in 1901, where she met Waite. Yeah, as I said, the group split, and then she moved to the Independent and Rectified Rite of the Golden Dawn, or also known as the Holy Order of the Golden Dawn. So the ninth house deals with religion, spirituality, stuff like that. Pluto is what? Intensity, the occult, transformation. So you can see here, she was, you know, early in her life, she started to go into that more intense form of spirituality. So again, I'm pretty much convinced she was a Virgo rising. It just fits very much with her chart. The result was the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck, published by William Rider and Son of London, and became the iconic 78 tarot deck used by all, like I mentioned before. Apart from the tarot deck and book illustration projects, her art found little success after the early success of the Stieglitz exhibition she had in New York. Yeah, so they basically said after the First World War, taste kind of moved on. In 1911, aged 33, she converted to Roman Catholicism. So again, here she became very religious. And then she received an inheritance from an uncle that after the First World War, that established her to enabled her to lease a house on the Lizard Peninsula in Cornwall, a popular area with artists. So she, again, you know, was there with the thespians. For income, she established a holiday home for Catholic priests in the neighboring house. So again, you see this ninth house energy here, trying to be, you know, being someone that, you know, helped Catholic priests, and was this, but it also shows her great ability for esoterica and all of these things, how the esoteric and the occult and religion were significant parts of her life and huge areas of transformation. And I've always referred to Catholicism as the religion of smells and bells, you know, and it does have quite a lot of pagan imagery. If you ever go to the Vatican, yeah, if you've ever been to the Vatican, look up at the ceilings in the papal apartments, and you will see it's all pagan iconography. So in a way, it doesn't kind of, I wouldn't have seen, I don't think she would have become Protestant, let's put it that way, which was stripped back and bare. Yeah, Catholicism is very rich in its imagery and, like I said, smells and bells, arts and all that stuff. So I can understand why that appealed to her. But yes, we can see here conventional religion as well was also a significant part in her life. Because the Jupiter is debilitated, yes, she probably didn't get as much support from men as she would have liked. And of course, with the deck, I mean, really, her name should have been more prominently on it. But, you know, we also need to understand this was also a time of women's suffrage as well. It wasn't so easy for women to have careers. She was already deeply unusual and conventional for her times anyway, which is being shown here with this Rahu, Sun, Venus, Saturn and Ceres combination, all here in sidereal Aquarius. So she was a very, you know, unconventional character. If we just get up, let's do the stop share on that, and let's get up her wiki again, just to look. Oh my gosh, I've already gone for an hour, bloody hell. Just to look a little bit at the, let's go here. Let's just look at this one here, and let's just share this little bit. We'll do the last bit of her life. What's the bit I wanted to share? So Smith and Waite drew on and up. Oh, no. This isn't it. Here we are. So in 1911, Smith converted to Roman Catholicism at the end of the First World War. Smith received an inheritance from an uncle that enabled her to lease a house in the Lizard Peninsula in Cornwall. So that's the Lizard Peninsula there. An area popular with, so Cornwall is in the west of England, yeah? There we are, so you can see here in the west of England. Popular with artists. For income, she established a holiday home for Catholic priests in a neighboring house. Her longtime friend, Nora Lake, joined her in Cornwall and helped her run the vacation home. Her longtime friend, Nora Lake, yeah? I know what that means, yeah? She's got a lot of planets in Aquarius. After several years of financial difficulty, Smith left the Lizard and relocated first to Exeter in 1939 and then to Bude in the early 1940s. Yeah. Although she continued writing and illustrating, she was unable to find publishers for her work, probably due to changes in public taste following the First World War. Smith died in her apartment, bless her, at the Ben Coolen House in Bude on the 18th of September 1951. Her possessions were auctioned off to pay her debts. The location of her gravestone is unknown, but it is likely that she was buried in an unmarked grave in St. Michael's Cemetery, Bude. Oh, bless her. So we can see here, just to, oh, what have I done? Oh, gosh, what have I done? Here we are. Just to kind of sum up, we can see, unfortunately, the latter parts of her life weren't so auspicious, so we say, but her contribution to tarot, the occult arts and stuff like that is, I mean, it's almost impossible to kind of calculate, isn't it? Because I mean, it's just huge. Everyone, you've seen us YouTubers, everyone uses that deck. The Rider-Waite Smith deck is like the default, you know, it's the default deck that so many astrologers use. So her legacy and her contribution to esoterica and the occult and alternative arts and sciences is huge. So it's definitely up there with like a Madame Blavatsky and Edgar Cayce in terms of contribution, and particularly that so many people use that deck till this day. And even if we think of pastiches of tarot readers or what have you, she's a big part of that iconography and that imagery, which has essentially become timeless. And as long as humanity is around, there will always be her deck. So if you think, even though the end of her life may not have ended so well, her contribution is great, and I think in many ways she's being reappreciated for her contribution and her work. So I will leave it there. And for anyone that is interested, there's be a link to my book in the video description. So the Candid Guide to Neo-Vedic Astrology. It's also on Kindle Unlimited now as well. So if you've got Amazon Prime, you can just download the book. Yeah. So I hope you guys found that interesting. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. And click the bell notification so you'll know when I'm doing my next videos. Let me know in the comments below who you would like potentially to have as my next deep dive, and I hope you found that interesting. So may she rest in peace, Pamela Colman Smith. Your legacy is much appreciated. All right, bye-bye for now.